Hey friends, welcome back. I'm really excited to see that you're back. I hope you enjoyed last week's video about pantsing and getting started. This week we are going to talk about hitting the wall. Hitting the wall. What does that mean? I am a runner, so when I think of hitting the wall, I think of, you're going along in your race, running along in your marathon, and you get to that point where your body just bottoms out. Your legs don't want to move anymore. You feel like you have no energy. Basically, your body hurts and you just want to lay down and die. Hitting the wall in a novel is not all that dissimilar to that feeling, but instead of your body kind of crapping out on you, it's your mind. Your mind just suddenly feels sluggish. You don't know where to go. You feel really stuck in your story. You don't know the direction to take next. You just are really feeling trapped, hitting the wall. How do we deal with hitting the wall? As a pantser, you will find this to be a problem more than a plotter would, because a plotter is going to have their outlines they're following. They know where they're going from chapter to chapter to chapter, and so they have something to work toward. As you're pantsing, you don't necessarily have that outline of, I know I'm going here next. You're kind of like, oh, we're going along, and what should happen? I don't know. And so you feel stuck. I have several methods that I use to deal with this, so I'm going to share them quickly with you. And I'll, as usual, talk more about them and some other ones tomorrow in my blog. So one thing that I do is I go back to the beginning and I start reading. I generally don't write in chapters when I do my first draft. It's just one big document and then I break it up into chapters later. So I just go back to the beginning and I start reading and I let myself get immersed in my story and I remind myself who my characters are and I remind myself what they want and what they're going for. And sometimes that can help to break that log jam of writer's block and to get those juices flowing again. Another thing that I like to do is I stop writing for the day. I stop trying to hammer my way through it. And I just get up and I go outside or I go for a walk or I get my body moving a little bit. Sometimes just getting my body moving, my blood pumping a little bit helps to get my brain moving again too. Maybe it's like a rush of oxygen that goes to my brain that helps it to start functioning again. Whatever it is, getting up and moving, going outside, going for a walk, something like that really helps me to work through whatever block I'm going through. Another thing that I'll try is reading something else, just someone else's book, whatever's on my shelf, whatever the next book that I had planned on reading is. I just dive into somebody else's reading, fiction, nonfiction, in my genre, out of my genre. It doesn't really matter. I am very flexible in what I read. Some people will insist that you should only read within the genre that you write. Personally, I find that a little bit limiting because I like to read so much stuff. So I will pick anything and I'll just start reading. Seeing how other authors develop their characters, develop their plot, good, bad, otherwise, I find it useful to me to read something else. Sometimes an idea that another author has, something that their characters go through, or even if it's like, wow, that was really bad. It helps me to think about my book in a different way, or even just to give my brain a break from my book for a little bit, because I can get so caught up in what I'm trying to do that I stop being able to see my book. So just getting away, taking a break, giving my brain a rest from my own work is really useful to me. Finally, one thing I do is I talk to other people. To be completely honest, most of the time, this is my husband, and most of the time it's a monologue. It is just me processing through what's going on. I talk about what's been happening up to that point, and I talk about some ideas that maybe I had. He'll ask a question here or there. He's really good about letting me brainstorm with him. He just asks a few questions, and I just work through some possible directions to go. what's really funny, the last time this happened, I have a fantasy series that I'm working on, and I'm sure I've talked about it before. And I had come to this scene where my character got onto a boat. My main character got onto a boat, and I didn't know what I wanted to do after that. I was like, oh, she's on this boat. Now what? Where are we going? What are we doing? And I must have spent at least half an hour, probably longer, just brainstorming through, talking about, like I was saying, maybe she could do this or she could do that. Maybe she uses magic. Maybe she doesn't use magic. Maybe this guy that has kidnapped her, does this or that. Maybe he goes on the boat. Maybe he doesn't go on the boat. Maybe something happens. And I talked through all of these different scenarios. And the hilarious thing is that when I actually sat down to write, I didn't use a single thing that I had talked about. Not one. I went in a totally different direction than what I had brainstormed through with him. So it's really fun to kind of work through that and then not use it at all. Basically, it was an exercise in all the things that I didn't want to do. So that can be really useful. I'm also in a Facebook group called Author's Tale, and it's just a bunch of writers helping each other. And I'll do the same thing in there, where I'll give a little bit of backstory, and then I'll ask for advice or opinions or questions. I guess I won't ask them for questions, but I'll ask them for advice or opinions. And often I don't actually use their suggestions, because their suggestions become a launch point of things I don't want to do. And sometimes just eliminating things I don't want to do helps me find what I do want to do. So don't be afraid of really thinking about why you're asking what you want. So I know generally when I go to Author's Tale, I'm probably not going to use the suggestions that they offer, because again, all I know is that little blurb. They don't know the whole backstory of my novel. They don't know the characters and all that stuff. So usually the suggestions they give don't really fit with the direction that my novel is going, but it helps me to eliminate some possibilities and spark a good idea. So super useful, and I really like to do that one. So that's what I do some things that I do when I run into a wall of writing. I would love to hear what you do, if you have any fun things that you do to get yourself out of a writing wall, out of a slump, whatever term you call it. I'd love to hear about that. You can comment below. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Talk about writing stuff there. We can continue this conversation. I post videos on Tuesdays, blogs on Wednesdays. Tomorrow I'll talk more about hitting the wall, some things related to that. And yeah, we're getting closer to my special surprise that I had mentioned last week. So keep your eyes peeled. I will have an announcement coming up soon about that. And as you can tell, I'm really excited about it. And I hope that you're getting excited about it too. So I will talk to you next week, where we are going to talk about character. So have a good week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.